Hello everyone! Today I want to share with you some alternative cards that I did with the April 2024 kit called Delicate Wings. Very pretty butterfly in this. I love the butterflies. Kind of hard to see a little bit in this. That's a little better. But the center one, very pretty. It's already die cut out for you, just along the sides, but not in that center, so it will stay intact. Very pretty. Let's get into here. Here's the stamp set. The physical stamp set is still on my table because I'm going to be using some more to finish this kit. I love the envelopes. I just love it when Stampin' Up! Does a beautiful print on the outside of the envelope, whether it's the flap or on the front of the envelope or both, rather than the inside, because you can't see it when your card is all in there and people cut that open. Rarely do they open it up to see what's on the inside, so I really like it when they do it on the out. Okay, and here are the card bases. So when Stampin' Up! Has these beautiful prints that goes across the whole card base for on the back, I usually like to cut these apart and make more cards out of them because it's just so beautiful. I don't want to waste it on the back of the card. Very pretty, and I'll show you how I did that. And then we'll get into the cards. We'll get this out. And in this kit, the little ink spot is the basic gray. I'm going to set this box aside for a minute. There we go. Alright, so we'll leave this over here so we can use this for a reference. And move that out of the way. Okay, so for this first card, what I did is I took this card here, and you just had the elements in it that you're supposed to fold it in half like a regular card, right? But I folded it the other way. So let's just do that part, and I'll show you how I did it. Super quick and simple, but it's a great way to kind of do a little bit of an alternate and a fun fold at the same time. Get all my little parts here. Okay, so instead of folding it this way like you normally would, we're going to fold it inside out and get our bone folder so we get a nice crease. And then we're going to fold the flap, front flap, back on itself and make that even with that fold line. Get your bone folder. There we go. Okay, so now we have that card opening like this. Okay, and then this piece we're going to put down here. You want to make sure that you don't put adhesive on this side. We only want it on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my adhesive, I'm going to kind of just make a little mark with my finger and flip it over this way so I know here is where I want my adhesive. So I'm just going to put a strip right there along this edge. Okay, and then we'll put that on the base. So this will line up at the very bottom of the card. So it will line up on this side. So there we go. Now we have it like this. And then these, I just glued these to half on, half off. So we're going to put some adhesive on this side of the wing. Actually, this one will get glued down all the way. This one you want to make sure you don't get it kind of here in the middle. So this one will glue all the way down. And I'm going to start with that one so I make sure I have the right placement and room for that other butterfly. I'm going to kind of line it up something like that. Now this one I just want on the sides of the wings. So not here in the middle. I'll put that one here. I didn't overlap these. On the sample they had them overlapping. I did not overlap them. And then this one will get put on here with dimensionals. So we'll put a couple dimensionals here. I'll take that off. And then we'll just line that up over here, something like that. And then for your greeting, again, I don't want adhesive on this side of it. So I'm going to kind of use this as a guide so I know how much adhesive, or how far to come over with my adhesive. And then this will get lined up right over here along the edge. And I should have put this on first because I don't want it to overlap that card. Let's see if I can pull up this wing and just kind of slide him over a little. There we go. So just a little bit. There, that's better. So that is super quick. Basically the same layout as this one, but I altered it just a little bit with that fold going this way. Okay, now onto the rest of them. Super fun. Okay, now there's this one here. So this one, like I said, with the card base, I cut them up so you get more bang for your buck. So what I'll do is I'll put this in my cutting machine or my cutter. So this is how I did that. So I will put that in, so I have cut 4 inches off. So usually my mats are 4 by 5 1/4, and then I'll leave that little score line and cut a strip off this other side. And then I'll cover that up with some ribbon or twine. And then sometimes I will cut the piece that I've cut at 4 inches, I'll cut it at 2 or 1 3/4, and I'll just use a little bit of a strip there so you see just a little bit of that in the background. And when you have your little brochure here, down here will tell you some of the coordinating colors that they used in this kit, like basic beige, basic gray, Lost Lagoon, Moody Mauve, and Champagne. So those are great colors for you to pull out your other base colors that you're going to use for your cards. And then some coordinating colors that would look good with those as well. Okay, so this one, so I've got 2 of these that I did with this. So the 2 base butterflies, so I've done the same thing and just cut a strip. I've chosen a little bit darker one. This is really pretty. This is Pretty Peacock. So that's not listed, but it looks really pretty with the Lost Lagoon, just a little bit darker. But one thing that I did with this is when you put these 2 pieces together, there's a considerable amount down here at the bottom with this pretty champagne paper that you're not going to see when you glue these 2 together. So I went and found an older butterfly punch, and I punched 2 butterflies right there in the corners, so you won't be able to see that. But I wanted a couple of butterflies popped out to use on some other cards. Great way to do a little paper saving technique, because you're not going to see that when you glue those 2 together, but I'm still using some of that paper. So that's what I've done with both of these, and I always have something on the inside, so this is where I've used a little bit of a strip that was left over when I cut those. And then this one, again with the paper saving technique. So this paper right here, I knew you wouldn't see here, this portion here of this part. So I took my scissors and fussy cut out a couple of the butterflies that were right here, and then put those on the inside. A little fussy, but kind of fun. A great way to use up as much of your kits as you possibly can. And then these here, originally in this card, they've taken the butterfly stamp and they stamped here in the basic gray, but I decided to leave that one off here, and I stamped one of the greetings there instead, just right on the card. And then just a couple of the butterflies popped up. I chose to pull out a color. It was actually out of Moody Mauve, which is one of the suggestions that they had in here, so I used my mixed berry. It worked great. I think that it worked pretty well. And then I've got my stamps on the inside and one of the little butterflies from the top, little punched out. Very cute. And then this one, I wanted to keep that with some, keep out just a little bit of the pink that you see in here, but I wanted it mostly with the gray and the Lost Lagoon, and all of them look great on black. Black is also a wonderful choice to have on hand, so grab a package of black cardstock and that will make any card pop really nicely. And then just some of the gray on the inside. And let's move that. So here I did a couple of cards with the same, kind of the same layout. So I took both butterfly backgrounds that I've cut off, and so that is where I had that little bit of score line that you see when you cut these. So you've got your score line. So I've got this, which is the 4 inches that I've cut, and you don't have the score line. But when you do, I'll just wrap some twine or ribbon, and then you won't see that score line. And then this one I did that fold. Same thing that I did with the other one. Again, just use some of that twine to wrap around that little fold. And some more butterflies, just on the basic white. Grabbed some different greeting stamps that you have on hand, so you can really versify what greetings that you have in here. I use more birthdays and thinking of yous than I do with some of the other ones. Same with this. So here I pulled out some of those butterflies that I cut out from the background champagne piece. So for this butterfly, I wanted them to kind of coordinate a little bit better, so I just took my paper snips and just trimmed off those tiny little bottom parts of that and ran it through a polka dot, a very old polka dot embossing folder, but I love it because it works really well for stuff like this. So I got a few of those on there, and then that little strip on the inside. And then this one here, I just took some, it's kind of similar layout when you're taking a 2-inch strip. When you really make your cardstock go even further when you do that. And then you have just enough in the background, and I did a couple of butterflies with a birthday, a couple of butterflies on the inside. And then same thing here, I used on this card here, before I put this down, I cut a couple of butterflies from this matte piece, since you wouldn't see the middle of it. Got some of those butterflies, again, trimmed off the little ends and ran it through the embossing folder. And then used some of these guys with a strip on the inside. Now this one here, I cut that 4 by 5 1/4 piece, and I cut that at an angle so I could do that. I'll do the same, make another card, similar layout, and have that butterfly. And then this one, I just kind of thought it would be fun to stamp a birthday stamp at an angle, and then just a little strip on the inside. Super quick cards. Some of them are super quick. Some of them take a little bit more finesse, but great way to get more bang for your buck when you cut up those back card pieces, bases. So I hope you enjoyed these samples. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day. Don't forget to click that bell button and give me a thumbs up. Take care.